Hello. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Let me just bring up my other tab there just to make sure that my mic seems as if it's working. Okay. I'm trialing a little bit of, well, it's not some new tech. It's the tech that I use when I am doing the podcast. But I thought I would trial it for doing the lives. And I'm amalgamating tech, which I don't know if it's a good idea, but we'll give it a try. So apologies for the late start. I've just basically ran over this morning. It's took me longer to do orders this morning than I thought it would. So I hadn't had any lunch. So I'd literally quickly had some lunch, and then it took me a little bit longer to make sure all the tech was working, basically, is what's happened. So hi, Ivan. Hi, Susan. And Susan says she can hear us, which is great. So I am still working my way through my cup of tea from my lunch. So I thought I'd sew up a Heidi today. I do have it all prepped, but I have to say that I'm not particularly organised. I'm just going to put it out there. I've also not had a great night's sleep. If anybody was with me on Tuesday when I also didn't have a great night's sleep, we know how that ended. So I am going to try and just take my time. I'm just bringing all my bits and pieces over. Let's move this out of the way. This is my dust bag for the Harley that I still haven't done yet, and this is my dust bag for the Heidi that I haven't looked at yet. I might sit and do them after we're finished. So I hope everybody is having a lovely Thursday. Let me just make sure I have everything. I need an extra back, and I know I had one in there, so let's just put that with it. Hi Sue, hope you're feeling much better. Yeah, I am. I didn't have a great night's sleep last night for some reason. I don't know why. I didn't have any coffee. I just didn't sleep. I don't know what time it was when I woke up. I didn't look at the clock purposefully. I didn't want to know. But yeah, I woke up and I sort of snoozed after that. So, but yeah, it's been a busy morning. So I am just getting myself all organised. I have my pattern open on my little sort of Chromebook tablet thing. See how that works. See if it's a little bit better than trying to sort of go through the pattern when it's printed out. So actually, we're using quite a little bit of new tech today. Is this going to go well? We'll find out. So let's just make sure I have everything to hand. Sue says you rectified Tuesday's blip really well. I hope so, Sue. I had a mentoring session this morning I'm doing some mentoring with the British Library, which has been really good. And we were talking about Tuesday's session, Tuesday's live. And so the guy said, so what did you learn from that? And I was like, don't go live when you've had 2 hours sleep and a migraine. But yeah, I said, well, it proved that I didn't go to pieces when I was sewing live and made a mistake, and I showed people how to put it right, I suppose. Sue says, I sleep with the curtains open and get used to waking up in the night. I can usually guess what time it is, and I'm usually right, yeah. I had a rough idea of what time it was, but I was in one of those moods where I just didn't want to look and get annoyed. You know, like if I'd looked and it was 1 o'clock, I'd then think, oh, I've only had X amount of sleep. Or I might think, oh, if I go back to sleep now, I'll get X amount more hours sleep, but I knew I wouldn't probably go back to sleep. Or if I looked and it was like 6 o'clock and the alarm was going to go off at 6:30, I'd be really annoyed because I'd lost that half an hour sleep. So yeah, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. So I just tossed and turned for a bit and snoozed, but I was really sort of conscious of not disturbing Andy, because obviously he's in the first week of his new job, and I didn't want to disturb him and have him tired, and yeah. I'm a pain in the butt. I don't know how he puts up with me. I really don't. So I think I have everything to hand. It's been a little while since I've sewn a Heidi up, so I probably will need to refer to our instructions quite a bit, but that's fine. That's what they're there for. So let's flick over to the other camera. Don't know if I've used this angle on a main live. Let me just turn off. Oh, let's remember how to do it. Yeah, just turn them off while I am in this angle. I don't know if I've used this angle on a main stream, but I trialed it in the club the other week. I'm just going to knock the light down ever so slightly. Trying to get camera angles and lighting and everything just right is quite difficult. So we'll quickly go through all of the pattern pieces and then make a start. So I have my wristlet. I'll move these to one side. My wristlet piece. Is it easier if I do my pattern pieces this way? Let me know. Rather than up above, which do you prefer? I'll run through them this way and then tell me which ones you prefer. Because at the moment, with me doing everything sort of live and with you guys in the chat, everything's kind of new, and obviously your feedback is appreciated. And if it's easier for me to kind of show this way, then I can do that, or I can do it with the camera the other way. So wristlet strap is I think 16 by 2, and then strap connector is 3 by 2. Both of these are just a quilting cotton, and they are interfaced with a woven interfacing. I think there is dimensions for them in the pattern. I'm just going to move my hardware out of the way for the moment. And then we have our back top piece and our back bottom piece. Now, both of these pieces are like a wool blend. They have a slight rubberized back. It's not massively rubberized. It's just got a very, very slight rubberized to it. I haven't interfaced them at all. I hummed and hawed about whether to interface them or not, but I just felt it probably would add a bit too much thickness to it. So I've gone without, because obviously we are going to add some fusible fleece. So that is the back and top and bottom for the back, and the, or is it the front? The back. And then this is the front piece, and we have accent pieces to go with. Now this is just a vinyl, again not interfaced at all, and then our pocket pieces, a quilting cotton and interfaced with woven interfacing. and then our lining pieces. So these are the full pieces, cotton interfacing and interfaced with a woven interfacing. I have 2 zips cut out to the measurements in the pattern, 2 zipper pulls to go with it, a magnetic snap with the backs, and a D-ring and a lobster clasp to go with the wristlet. And I also have 2 pieces of fusible fleece cut out as well. Now, the fusible fleece is cut out slightly smaller than the finished pattern piece. It's reduced by the seam allowance. So you want to make sure that you are using the instructions in the pattern to reduce that pattern piece by the seam allowance, because obviously you want to keep it out of your seam allowances. So I'm going to go over to the other camera and we'll make a start. So we're going to make a start on our back pieces. I'm going to add the accent in first. I'm going to use a little bit of double-sided tape just to keep it in place so that it's not moving as I baste it in place. Let me know if you can see okay. Again, apologies, I'm still wearing the plaster. It obviously is a fresh plaster, literally just put on before we started. And obviously I am well aware that my nails are very outgrown and need doing. I just can't stand the thought of the pain of getting them done just yet. I'm hoping that my finger will be well enough on Monday to go and get them done and have them a nice new fresh colour. But please bear with. Your patience is very much appreciated in the nail department. They are very long and I am struggling to do things, I will be honest. But it's just as well, I am really liking this colour because I am now about a week and a half over when I would normally have my nails done. So it is just as well, I really do like this colour, otherwise I would be a very unhappy bunny. So we want to put the overlay, this accent piece, onto the bottom piece that is slightly curved. This bit is straight and this bit is slightly curved. So you just want to make sure that you're putting it on to the right edge. So I'm just going to line it up. You can mark your centres as well to make sure that you line it up all nice and neat. How's everybody's Thursday going? Is everybody having a busy day? If you need to readjust, just readjust. Just going to use a couple of clips. Try not to drop them in my tea like I did on Tuesday night. There was only one in when I went and cleaned my cup. I thought I'd dropped 2 in, but I'd only dropped 1 in. So I'm just using a couple of clips to keep that in place. And what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to sew along this line here, and then I'm just going to baste the rest in place as well. So let's just make sure that my machine is all threaded. I am going to be really brave and use a contrasting thread. So I have a really beautiful sort of grape coloured thread. I'm using a Tex 45 thread. I have an 18 needle in my machine, and as usual I'm sewing on a HD9 walking foot machine. Oh, caught my thread in there. But yeah, I am being very, very brave using a contrasting thread, especially after my antics on Tuesday. But hey, if you're not moving forward, what are you doing? Susan says, I'm working at home but listening in. Oh well, I'm very pleased to be keeping you company. Normally I have my machine already pre-threaded, but I was having lunch. Paula says, good morning from Santa Barbara, California. Oh, I bet it's much warmer in California than it is here. Have you been affected by, is it California where the fires are, Paula? I am really not very good with A, geography, or B, world news. I actually make it a little bit of a policy not to watch the news because everything is just really quite depressing. But I have seen some things shared about what's going on with the fires, and it looks awful. Sue says, really busy day for me. Picked up some bits from Screwfix. Then the hospital for treatment. Dropped some key fobs off for a friend, and then Asda shopping. Now sewing, watching you, not at the same time. Yes, don't watch me and sew at the same time, Sue, because we all know how that ends, and it isn't good. I need to change my foot over as well. That is how I went through my finger, watching the telly. Yes, fires in Los Angeles. So I'm presuming Los Angeles isn't far from California. Like I say, my geography is absolutely terrible. Like when I look at anything, when people tell me that they live somewhere or that they've been somewhere, I have to go on Google Maps to sort of see where that is. Like, even to be fair, like places in the UK as well. That's not just places worldwide. Like, I'm really bad on UK geography too. Like, sometimes I'll go, oh, that's not far from here, and Andy will be like, Deb, it's the other side of the country. Like, oh, is it? Like, yeah. Okay. Paula doesn't watch the news either. But it is like thousands and thousands of homes. It's just awful. Susan says, did you have your table specially made to sink in your machine? No, the table came with the machine. With it being an industrial, it came with the machine. So I'm top stitching this about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. I always top stitch at an eighth of an inch, unless the pattern tells me otherwise. And my top stitching length is usually always a 4.5. Oh, went a little bit too far then. So all I've done on the other 4 sides is just kind of catch it in and top stitched this one in. And don't put your clips in your cup of tea. So I'm going to get the top, and I love the clips you were using. I'm going to try that. I think I saw originally was possibly Lauren using those clips like years and years ago, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get some of them. And I did have, do you love my little Christmas like gift bag that I used to keep my clips in? I did have like literally like full bag, like full part. And eventually, sort of like over the years, they've kind of flown across the room, never been retrieved, put into teacups. I've sewn through them because yes, my machine is powerful enough to sew through metal clips. And they've just kind of dwindled down. And I was literally just thinking yesterday, I really could do with getting another pack of clips, because metal clips is not something that I kind of have for my hair, because I don't kind of have enough of it to warrant having any. So we are going to sew across this panel at 1/2 inch, and the first and last no, we're not, we're going to sew across at 3/4 inch, and the first 1/2 inch we are going to sew at a normal stitch length, which for me is always 2.5, unless I'm sewing really thick vinyl or leather, and then I'll sometimes go up to a 3. And then we are going to change to a baste and stitch, and baste this part in between at a baste and stitch, and then when we get to the other 1/2 inch, we will drop back down to our normal stitch length. So just to make sure I am nice and accurate, I'm going to mark that. So I hope everything is clear. I hope the camera angle is okay. Let me know. Anybody who's followed me for a while will know that I get really in my own head about whether things are okay for people to see, whether it's too bright, whether it's not bright enough. I'm sure Sue will back me up there when I say I do get very worried about whether things are okay for everybody. Paula says camera angle is great. Fabulous. Yeah, it's sometimes because this is white and I have quite bright lights on, and I've not long ago changed my cameras, and they're super powerful, and I'm a little bit worried that they're too powerful and they're pulling in too much light and making things too bright. So I just like to double check, because if you don't ask, you don't know. So I've just sewed along to pretty much roughly where that 1/2 inch mark is. I'm just going back down to my usual stitch length. I am remembering to back stitch at the beginning of where this smaller stitch starts and ends. But one thing I'm having to try and remember to do with this fabric is, I think it's a Laura Ashley fabric, I think. But I'm feeling as I'm sewing with it, it is kind of stretching out ever so slightly. So I am going to have to be very careful when I'm sewing it, that as I am moving it, that I'm not pulling it at all, so that I'm not stretching out this fabric. Worst case scenario, if I do find that I'm slightly over with a seam, then I'll make it work. I'll sort that out. But if you find that you ever have that with a fabric, that as you sew it, you can kind of feel it stretching, just make sure that you're not pulling on it any more than what you need to be. Things like walking feet do help, but just sort of like be aware of it. So I'm flattening this down. I know that this fabric does not like to be pressed, so I'm not going to press it. If you're using cotton, give it a press. Get it really nice and flat and nice and crisp. It'll look so nice. If you're using cotton and you give it a really nice press. Oh, I've made my pattern too big. So what we need to do now is we need to put our zip here. So a little bit, I don't know if any of you kind of dress make, but sometimes you know how you put a zip, sometimes you know into like a side seam. When you baste your seam, you put your zip in and then you open up your seam afterwards. That's exactly what we're doing here. So I am going to remember to put my zip pull on. I was telling the guys on the club so long on Tuesday about making a Denver backpack and pretty much finishing both pockets in the panel, pretty much done, and then realised I hadn't put the zip pulls on either pocket zip. I was absolutely devastated. They were both in, like pocket linings in, everything top stitched, zipper tabs in, everything, and then I realised there was no zipper pulls in. I was like, and I thought to myself, you know, if I'd been doing this live, and I was just sort of like sewing it on a Sunday afternoon. But I was like, if you'd been sewing this live, somebody would have been in the comments going, Deb, your zipper pull. It would never have happened. Right. I'm just going to move my trolley a little bit so I'm not twisting. Save my back. We use a little bit of double-sided tape. Yeah, I was laughing at that. I thought, yeah, if I decided to go on and sew that Denver live, and I had you guys watching, I probably wouldn't have made that mistake. But I was like, oh, I did think about, you know, putting the camera on and doing it, but I was like, oh, I really haven't sewn this bag for such a long time. And I always remember the first time I made it, it really, that bag really sort of like had me, like, it just had me baffled. Apart from the zip pulls, it went together fine this time. It was quite a long time ago, and I think my skills have improved quite a bit since then. But but I did think afterwards, I was like, well, Deb, if you'd come on and sew live, somebody would have reminded you to do it. Susan says, I always get my hubby to put my zip pulls on. I can never do it. I might have to get a gadget. Yeah, I can't put a zip pull on without a gadget. I have tried and tried. I watch other people do it very effortlessly. Can't say that word. And I'm very jealous. But no, I have never managed to do it. Now, I just want to think about which way I want my pull to open, which is that way. So I'm going to take the top zip double-sided tape off first. I might use my pin. But yeah, I cannot. I think I was watching one of Kasaya's videos the other day, and yeah, she was like perched on a stool next to a what they're called, not like a normal sewing machine, the one that, I don't think it's called a compound, you know, the one that's like the free arm. I can't do that way. And just whacked a zip pull on, like, you know, didn't even think about it. And I was just like, I wish I could do that. Wish I could do that. So how I'm going to do this, and there's probably easier ways of doing it, is I'm literally going to put it down. I probably could have done with having this zip tape sort of longer so that I could have the zip over and out of the way. Sue says I can put a zip pull on after a lot of effort and swear words. So now I always use the gadget. I mean, it doesn't take much for me to use a swear word anyway. So, I mean, I'm Northern, so, you know, we use swear words like, how's your father? So, but yeah, I just think, I mean, I do try to sometimes practice that I can do it, but I just think, use my gadget. It's literally on my little trolley. It's there. It's fine. I've got quite a big zip pull here, which probably wasn't one of my smartest moves. But we all know by now, I don't always think things through. I'm just making sure that this is all lined up. I will move the zip pull out of the way. Anything to make life easier, Sue says. Mine's stuck onto my box that contains my zips. Yeah, mine is literally, I don't know if you can see my little trolley here, and it's there. And I did stick, this is like a foam. I can't actually remember why I put a foam thing on it, to be fair. And then I pulled the foam thing off it, and then I stuck 2 magnets to it. I've got tons of these magnets. I don't actually even know where I got them from. And I've got them on my machine that I keep my snips and my zip feet and what have you. And then I stuck 2 of these to my thing, and then it just goes on my little trolley. And it's probably like one of the best things I ever did was put magnets on it, because it's just always kind of there. I always know where it is. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to basically sew around this and close that zip in. Actually, I wouldn't have been able to have my zip longer, because I am going to sew the ends, so it needs to be in the middle, doesn't it? I'm just going to make a mark at that half inch. I will figure out going around that zip. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to be getting too close to this zip. I want to be close enough, but I don't want to be too close to that zip, because I want to be obviously able to open and close the zip fairly easily. So I'm just kind of using my fingers to feel. I want to see if I can use my fingers to push it along out of the way. The thing with putting zips in this way is trying to keep the zip pull out of the way. Make sure I get my needle back in the same spot there, because I caught my single stitch. Right, so I think I'm going to have a little bit of fun trying to work my way around that zip, because I'm using quite a big zip pull, but I will figure it out probably by opening up the line of stitching just before I finish stitching it in place. So let's move it totally to this end so I can stitch in place as much as possible. I do this as well, you know, like when I'm not filming. I talk through like how I'm going to make things work. Where's my seam ripper? I'm like, oh, that's not going to work. So how am I going to do that? How's this going to work? How's this going to work? Sure, Andy thinks like I am losing the plot most of the time. I mean, to me, it's just a staff meeting, really. So if I just very carefully find them stitches. Somebody messaged me about my seam ripper. She's like, oh, it's beautiful. Do you sell it? I was like, no. Wish I did. I got it on Etsy like many moons ago. Oh, I keep doing that. And I don't think the person actually sells them anymore because I couldn't find. I love this zip pull, but it's definitely quite a big, quite as a big zip pull to be using. I couldn't actually find the seller on Etsy anymore. I've probably had it about probably about 5 years, I think. There we go. Wow, that took some work, but absolutely worth it. So I'm going to open up the rest of my stitches. And then put my seam ripper back in the other way because we all know how accident prone I am. Like, you know, we don't need Deb to injure anymore. Fingers, hands, anything else. So there is that piece done, and I'm then going to take the back pocket piece and I'm going to stitch this to this part here. Other zipper foot will be easier to do this. Hi Nikki, you all right? There is a slightly different way of putting in the zipper by just sewing in one side when you top stitch it and then sewing in the other, like when you're putting in the zipper pockets, but I prefer to put them in this way. I find it easier, and I prefer to top stitch my zipper in one go because I can sew the entire box. But either way is correct. And then line up the other zipper pocket and stitch in that way too. Nikki says, just trying to stay warm here. Yeah. Where is it that you are again, Nikki? It is quite cold here. Not as cold as it has been. It has warmed up slightly, but it is still quite chilly. I don't know if we're due for any more cold snaps at all. So just going to sort of line all of these up and square everything up, get the clips out. Minnesota. You know, for some reason I was thinking it was New York, and I kind of knew it wasn't, but I couldn't get New York out of my head. Probably just because you said it was cold. 0 at the minute. I went to New York in 2017. Sort of around about this time. Flew out on the 7th, came back on the 12th or something like that. Got there and it was like -10. Came home and it was 17 degrees. Like, I've never been somewhere where there was such a big swing in temperature. Like, it was absolutely like just like unreal, like absolutely crazy. Couldn't get over it. Right, I am going to trim these down. Hi Brian. He says it's only 7 degrees here in San Diego. I actually had to turn on the heater. Oh. I actually don't know what the temperature is here. Hang on, where's my home screen? Oh, it's 10 degrees here. It's practically tropical. So, do I want to change my foot? I should be all right based on this with this foot on, because I'm going to need this foot for the other zipper. I just don't tend to like sewing with this foot on. Mostly I prefer the other foot. But we have a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so we have a good area in which to baste. It will be fine. And then this is going to be my back, so this will come over onto the top. So do I want to put a badge on? And Brian says it's only 8 AM, so it'll be up to 18 degrees later. Yeah, it's not so bad. We're on sort of nearly 4 PM, so it's getting chillier. It's sort of getting colder in the day here. It's pretty much dark as well. Okay. Let's put a badge on. I feel like I'm so slow at doing everything at the moment with my finger being the way that it is, because it's quite painful, and I feel like everything I sort of, when I'm touching everything, it's quite sort of painful to touch and trying not to touch anything. So then I'm feeling like I'm being sort of very slow doing everything. But like I was saying to somebody earlier on, it could have been way worse. I could have done so much more damage to it than what I actually did. Where do I want to put this? I think I want to kind of roundabout centre, don't I? Let's get my slightly bigger ruler. I don't know whether I want to get. I keep thinking about moving my rulers over onto my other desk, but then I cut out on that desk. So then I'm thinking, do I just buy more rulers? Which I'm sure if I mention that to Andy, he will be like, absolutely not. No more rulers, Deb, no more rulers. I'm like, well, I kind of need them for this. And he'd be like, Deb, no you don't. I have a slight ruler addiction. I'm thinking maybe getting one or two to put in a slightly closer vicinity. I mean, I could just get up and get them, couldn't I, really? I am being lazy. I am just being lazy. Don't think that looked right. Oh, might as well have my. I shall get the ruler. So, are you working today, Brian, or are you pretending to work today? What have you got on? I am not far off being finished for the day. I am waiting on somebody emailing me back about an order. Normally, I would have had the post away by now, but I've had to hold it back because I need somebody to email me back about how she wants to proceed about something. So I'm really kind of hoping that when Andy comes in, he will take the post to the delivery centre for me, because I don't want to go out. It's basically what I'm saying. And then I will have an hour or two off, and then we have the masterclass in the club later on tonight, which I am looking forward to. And then I am hoping to have a half day tomorrow. I am out for tea and cake with my mum. If it's really nice cake, I will post some pictures on my community tab. See, this is times when I'm struggling because I can't use the side of my finger to push things. So yeah, if it's really nice cake, I will post some pictures. It's meant to be. I haven't been to the place that we're going to. My mum has, but I haven't. But I've heard really good things. So that's my plan for tomorrow. Brian's pretending. I thought he might be. Just make sure I have that on the right way and that we are straight. So let's do straps. Let's put the iron on to be heating up. Oh, and then I'm out for cake on Saturday as well with the girls. I didn't want to. I've got an uncooperative pen. There we go. So lots of cake in the next 48 hours. But I suppose you don't get to be nice and chunky without maintaining your cake consumption, do you? So, you know, we need... Oh, where's my wire? Oh, my wire has got stuck. There we go. Isn't it really strange how that wire there has just decided to jam itself? Yeah, it's never been moved. So weird. Okay, so I am just going to do your usual standard fold into the centre along both edges. I was kind of like down to the dregs of my interfacing on this part, and it was totally franken-pieced to use up the last pieces of my interfacing. Shall we talk about cake while I'm doing this? Because I'm absolutely, if they sell it, going to be having coffee cake, because that is my favourite. I absolutely love coffee cake. Probably closely followed by a solid caramel. And then if they don't have cake, I'll always go for cheese scone. I do love a cheese scone. So I'm just going to pop some clips in there. Sue says, I've got you on stereo watching your video on zip overlays. Well, I mean, Sue, it's all about the watch hours. So, you know, I appreciate it. Absolutely appreciate it. I mean, I don't know if I could take even myself on stereo. So, like, you're a braver person than me. Sue says, my go-to cake is lemon drizzle or a nice Victoria sponge. Yes. Lemon drizzle is very nice. And I don't think you can beat a Victoria sponge either. I mean, especially done well. It is very good. Right, let's turn that off. Love my little press. Oh, I'm going to have to sort that out later on. That's going to drive me crazy. Okie dokie. So, right. I am going to have to switch my foot over because I can't top stitch these straps with this foot on because I don't like it. Sue says they do make a wicked tiramisu, but you shouldn't be driving if you eat some. Well, then that is a wicked tiramisu, Sue. Paula says my mum makes a very yummy sherry cake. Sounds like you also shouldn't be driving after one of them, Paula. My favourite when I was younger was always like chocolate fudge cake. I loved chocolate fudge cake. And now, I just wouldn't even think of having it. Like, just don't enjoy it. Isn't it funny how your tastes just change? I mean, don't get me wrong. If somebody said, here you go, here's a piece of chocolate cake, I'm not going to say, oh no, I don't want it. You know, I'm obviously talking about if I'm like going and buying some. Yeah, my favourite is definitely coffee cake. Right, so on this strap connector, I've just sewn down each side at 1/8 of an inch. Just put it in the D-ring and just basted that close to keep it in place. I am leaving my strap connector there so that I do not forget about it. Paula says, haha, I don't drive so I can have all of the cake. Very, very good idea. Right, take this clip off. I can't believe that like I've had my dinner there before, and like because we're talking about cake now, I'm hungry. Nikki says, oh my god, I haven't had a good coffee cake in years. I love coffee cake. And I actually make a mean one. Sue says, I went out yesterday with my bestie and we had Bakewell tart. I'm not a massive fan of Bakewell tart. Don't come at me in the comments, but I don't like jam. Like, so like if I had a Victoria sponge, I'd take the jam out and leave it. But yeah, but I'd probably eat the nice bits of Bakewell tart and leave the jam. Paula says my absolute favourite is gingerbread with lemon icing. Sounds good. Sophie has turned up at the perfect point when we're talking about cake. What's your favourite cake, Sophie? Oh, Sophie was talking about dark chocolate muffins the other day. Right. So to make my strap, I have fed my strap connector on before I have sewn anything. And I am just putting the two short edges together, right sides together. And I'm going to sew them together at 1/4 of an inch. Paula says, I am making my mum a robe for her birthday. She's turning 89 next week. Oh, that's fabulous. So, and I'm just going to use my fingers to press this out. I'm not going to get the iron back out or anything. Just get a couple of clips to help me along there. And then I'm just going to fold them back in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to top stitch down either side, basically rotating it round and keeping this wristlet out of the way so that I don't have any raw edges where my wristlet is. Switch over to my other camera so you can see a little bit more clearly. And just going to try and give this seam a bit of a squidge. It's really weird doing things with my index finger instead of my middle finger instead of my index finger. So strange. Keeping my threads long so that I can keep hold of them so that I don't get any nesting. Sophie says I had to give the homemade biscuit cakes and muffins up doctor's orders. Well, my doctor has been trying that for a long time. Long stitch length. I had been doing very well, like losing weight, but then kind of life happened in November. My mum had been doing really well losing weight as well. I'd been going to Slimming World, and my mum had just been kind of doing it on her own. And then the class that I was going to changed, and then I haven't been able to find a class that I like since. And I've also found it difficult to find a class that kind of fits in with my schedule as well. Yeah, and then let's say life kind of happened in November, and my mum struggled to kind of get back on it. I've struggled to kind of get back on it, but we will get back on it. Obviously not tomorrow because we are going for cake, but possibly next week or the week after. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find where my seam is. I'm going to pull my wristlet strap to just before, hopefully you can see that, just before where that seam is. And then I'm going to run a row of stitches just along there to sort of trap that clasp in, neaten off my threads. Obviously, if you're using a lightener to burn your edges, be very careful. And there's my wristlet, which I will put to one side. I am not moving that strap connector. I'm gonna baste it in place now so that I can't forget. If anybody is watching today who didn't watch on Tuesday, I forgot to put my straps in on the bag I was making on Tuesday. It was fine. It all turned out all okay. I made it right. I fixed it, but oh my God. Like, there's literally a point on the video where you can see me go, oh, when I realised what I'd done. But it made for a bit of fun banter. And you can all take the mick out of me. I don't mind. We're all friends here. Paula says, this is a part I need to watch. I need to learn to make better straps and attach hardware. So, Paula, I've got a video on my channel where I show how to make 3 crossbody straps. But that video, basically, although it's a crossbody strap, the principles of how I make the straps are just how you'd make handles that way, you'd make straps that way, you'd just change your measurements. for whether it's a wristlet strap, a handle, whatever it is. And then if you go into my like homepage, you will see that I have a playlist that says masterclasses, and I have different videos there that show you different hardwares and stuff as well. So that should help you too. So I'm also going to put my magnetic snap on at this point as well, because what I don't want to be doing is forgetting to put my magnetic snap on and then going to try and close it and realizing we can't. But I have a video on installing magnetic snaps. I have a video on installing purse feet. So this one needs to be 6 inches up. I'm trying to think what other videos I've got on there. I've got quite a few. I have got a few. Yes, I think I watched the video on crossbody straps. Thank you very much. You're very welcome. So all I'm doing is I'm just lining up the bottom. This is a 6-inch ruler and it's a 6-inch measurement. So I'm just lining up the bottom where I've marked my centre with the middle and marking that point. I should have done that before I basted that in, but never mind. It actually tells you to baste it before you install the magnetic snap. Never mind. And then that's 2.25. 1, 2. And do mine there because of where my have I installed my oh no, it's fine, I'm on the wrong one. Ignore me, people, I'm looking at the wrong one. Right, it's because I haven't put my accent onto this one yet, so I have confused myself, which does not take much. So let's put these measurements there. I was thinking that, I was like, oh my god, I've put my 1, 2 and a quarter. I was thinking, then I was like, I've put my my nameplate onto the wrong one, and I was like, but I checked it twice. 1, 2. Hi, Sarah. Put that on for a second. I was wondering there when I was looking at the instructions, I was like, why is it telling you to baste it? Like baste that pocket closed, and then put the magnetic snap in, because the pocket's going to be closed. What happens when you're not reading the instructions properly? Just use my iron there to get rid of that mark for the heat erasable pen. Hope you're well, Sarah. We've just been talking about cake. Surprisingly. She'd be like, no, Deb, you haven't. I'm shocked. So we want to put this one onto the bottom that isn't as curved. The more curved is the top, the less curved at the bottom. So just line that up, press it down. I'm just going to do the same. I'm just going to baste round here, down and around. Sarah says, I love a lemon drizzle. You're in good company. I'm doing the same. I'm moving my chair right over. Need to listen to my bobbin, make sure I don't run out. I should be fine. It was practically a full bobbin. Right, magnetic snap. Got my backs. Might have to get my prongs again to get this apart with not being able to use my finger. I've just been talking to Sarah about not realising about how much I use this part of my finger. Like trying to actually do things and pick things up, and yeah, it's been fun. I'm sure Andy's so pleased that he's been at work and not been having to listen to me go on and on and on and on about it. So I'm just marking the back of these two bits of Decaville. I'm at work, I work from home, I've got you on one screen and work on the other. Well, I mean, that's what you call multitasking and using your time effectively. So just where I've marked those placements, I'm just marking where my prongs are going to go. And like I said in before, this material does have sort of, like I say, a little bit of a tendency to stretch out. So I am just kind of trying to be careful when I'm handling it, not to kind of pull on it. Oh, I need to mark these as well. You know, I'm trying to be mindful, basically. So I'm putting the female part of the prong on the top and the male part towards the bottom. I always use a little bit of glue on my hardware just to give a little bit of extra sort of strength. Brian says, same Sarah, Deb and Mona, yeah, I tried IT trying to fix my computer in the other. Oh, there's nothing worse than when your computer won't work. I mean, I'm presuming that's what you're saying, Brian, for like not being able to, you know, do your work. So that is our front part fixed, and we need to install our zip. So I think I am going to install mine slightly differently because they turn both ends, and I'm not kind of keen on that finish. Let me just see what this needs to be cut to. 11. Right. So Sarah says it's the only way, Brian. Oh, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think this might be fun, trying to turn the ends of my zip, because I usually use my index finger. I do have a video sort of talking you through doing this step by step. Am I happy with that? I think I am. What have you got on the sewing table at the moment, Brian? And, oh, that was a bit hot. More importantly, like, how's the shoulder been? Did I tell you my mum's been in and had her other operation? She had it on the 20th. I'm just going to pop that pin back in. Sarah says, I'm just finishing a tiny chatty bag, then have a moonwake cut out and ready to start. I think Brian's had about 3 or 4 of the chatty bags on the go, haven't you, Brian? You've made loads of them. They've looked fab, absolutely fab. Brian says, shoulder is fantastic, thanks. What did your mum have done? So she had her shoulder operation done, which is on her right, which is the same as what she had done on the left, which was basically like the shoulder joint cleaned, some bone removed, and something to do with the tendons and nerves, I think, which I think is just kind of what they do before they would do a full shoulder replacement, which I think she's kind of trying to avoid. But yeah, she had that done on the 20th of December. So she's in quite a bit of pain at the moment, bless her. But they've said that's to be expected. It's kind of where like the bone's been removed. It's it's a painful operation to have. This one does not want to go on. There we go. Brian I do. I have 2 tinies clipped ready to ease in the gussets. Brian says, I think a shoulder clean out is more painful than a total replacement. Yeah, I think she's sort of thought that a total replacement would be really, really, really painful, and she hasn't wanted to have that done. But yeah, she's a tough cookie. She's you know, she's doing really, really well, but it's, and then she had an appointment. I took her, what day was it? Was it Monday? I think it might have been Monday. She'd rang them because she was in quite a lot of pain, and the physio had said, come in and we will give you an appointment and check you over and make sure everything's okay. And the physio was asking her what sort of like physio exercises she'd been doing, and when my mum told her, she was like, whoa, you've been doing far too many. I don't know, for argument's sake, she told her she'd been doing 20 of each exercise, and she was like, yeah, you should be doing 5. So I think my mum had sort of thought, the more that she did, the quicker she would heal. So she's got to lay off the exercises for a little while. So 3/4 of an inch. Oh, I can get to use my 3/4 ruler. Sounds like overachieving runs in family. Oh, I am my mother's daughter. I am 100% my mother's daughter. If you see us next to each other, Brian, we are the double of each other. Andy looks at my mum and sees his future. So I'm just marking in 3/4 of an inch. I get to use my wonderful 3/4 inch ruler. And just before let's just mark it on the other side as well. Just before I cut my zipper tape, I am just going to make sure that it is the right length. So it will be slightly different length because I'm going to do my zipper differently. I'm going to put a stop on it. Well, not a stop, a tab. So we shall cut it here. There we go. So normally on this pattern, what you would do is you would turn the edges on both sides, but I don't like that. I prefer it to have an end on. So I'm just going to grab a bit of vinyl, which isn't exactly the same. Just going to cut some off, but it's close enough. I've actually used the last of this vinyl, and I'm just going to cut a little square to make a stop. So I just need my tab to be 1 1/4 by 1 inch. Because it's vinyl, obviously we don't need to fold it in. It can be a raw edge, and then I'm just going to fold that over. I'm just going to fold that over the edge to, I need to straighten that up. Tell your mum it's worth it. I did actually say that to her after we had our chat on the podcast. I did actually say to her, like, Mum, Brian had his shoulder replaced and he said it was like the best thing he's ever done. And she was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, and she was like, we'll see. But just the pain in her shoulders, so like, it stops her doing so much. She can't knit, she can't crochet, which are the things that she loves to do, and she's so good at them. Like, she's so talented. I'm just going to top stitch this down. So I'm hoping, I'm just going to straighten that up first. I'm hoping that once this one's healed, like, she might be able to get back to doing those things, because she really does miss them. Just get rid of any little loose ends. And then I'm just going to clip this in place between those lines and then baste it in place as well. Brian says 2.5 months out of surgery and I can raise my arms straight over my head. Haven't been able to raise past shoulder height for years. Yeah, I mean, it makes such a difference. I mean, I've only suffered with like a frozen shoulder, and I know how bad that was. Like, and I mean, I'm not, I'd say I've got about 90% of my movement back after having that. Like, I haven't gotten like 100% movement back after my frozen shoulder, but most of it back. So I can't imagine sort of how awkward it must be for sort of like me mum and that, and anybody like yourself who suffers with issues with the shoulder, not being able to like sort of put your arms out fully. It's like an absolute nightmare. I'm just making sure that this is all lined up fully. Don't want it to be wavy. So I'm just easing it round. I mean, if the consultant came back and said to her, like, you need a full shoulder replacement, then she'd probably have it done. Like, she's not frightened of pain or anything. She's tough. I mean, when she had the first one done was 4 weeks before the wedding, not last year, year before now. And the consultant was like, you need to keep the sling on for like X amount of time, which obviously like ran over from when the wedding was. And she's like, absolutely not wearing that sling for the wedding. I was like, okay, ma'am. Because obviously my mum like walked us down the aisle and that. She was like, no way, like, am I wearing that sling? She was like, I'm not having my walking stick when I walk you down the aisle. And I was like, well, you might need to, because me and you together we're like the blind leading the blind. You fall over, I'm not going to be able to save you. So I'm just going to baste this in place. leave them out, and then get one of the lining pieces. And I'm just going to mark my centres just so I can make sure that everything lines up nicely. Try not to stab myself with that pin. How's everybody finding this camera angle? Because it's very different for me. You'll probably find you'll log into my next live and I've had a play about and I'm trying something different. But I'll always ask for your feedback. I might not always take it, but I'll always ask for it. Sarah says I like it. That's good. Do you know what I worry about sometimes if I have the camera sort of over here and it's facing down this way? Obviously, if I lean forward, like you get a camera full of my face, and I get in my own way. Is that too bright? Is that really reflecting? I don't know. But and then you're gonna laugh at me. I get really conscious about what I'm wearing because you know I'm blessed, shall we say. So I have to be careful. I don't want to be giving people a real eyeful. And then it means I've got to be really careful and think about what I'm wearing all the time. And then if I lean forward, and then I don't want to be getting the wrong type of views. It's basically what I'm saying. Like, there's just so much to think about. One of the, like, when I was on one of the lives the other day, Tracy was like, Deb, you overthink it. I was like, yeah, I know I do. But you do have to think about these things because people on the internet can be cruel and it can be nasty. So you do have to think of these things. So, but I quite like this angle as well. Because I feel like I'm not having to think about where I am placing myself. I'm just a little bit worried about whether it's too bright, whether it's too white. I might switch back to my old camera. Sarah says that's a completely different channel. Exactly. I mean, Sarah, if it pays the bills, like, you know. But yeah, it is a totally different channel. And not the type of viewers I want to be attracting. But yeah, I don't want to be leaning forward and nobody can see how I'm putting a zipper pull in because my face is in the way. Sarah says, I love the tiny Catty O'Brien. It's so quick to sew with having no pockets. I think I'm going to have to check this one out. I'm supposed to be on a ban. I am supposed to be on a ban. Okay, so I need to kind of pull this straight. I can't press because I really can't press this fabric. If it was all cotton, I would be able to press it out and it would be great. But I can't. Probably could press it from this side. But I really don't want to take the risk because what was it I made with this fabric a little while ago? And it was really quite temperamental. I love it. I really love this fabric, but it was a little bit temperamental. So what I'm going to do is I am just very carefully going to kind of manipulate it and keep it sort of pulled taut and top stitch it. And I'm going to top stitch it 3/4 of an inch away from the edge. So basically where the zip stops and starts. So we're not going to go all the way to the edge with our top stitching. Now I probably would normally prefer to top stitch with my other foot, but it will be fine. Brighton says we need a sew along for it. It's a business expense. I mean, to be fair, like my patterns, like, you know, but I've still got to buy them. It's, yeah. And I'm just trying to be good until at least Andy's been paid first. His first pay after going back to work. Because we will have been, I think by the time he gets paid, it will have been 11 weeks. Which is fun when you've had Christmas, but it is what it is. But I can do a sew along in Feb. You know, I think I've actually got all of my sew alongs planned out until about then anyway. So it will happen. I will make it happen. So basically, I'm just going to repeat the process. Oh, I haven't changed over my camera. I'm just going to repeat the process. So line that up with that 3/4. Line that up with the 3/4. And then I'm just going to ease it in. With it being on a curve, I just find, obviously sewing zips into a curve is quite difficult sometimes, and you can end up with a wavy zip. One of the things I find really helps not have wavy zips is not stretching it, not pulling it. This fabric's really showing up quite red, and it's like quite pink. I wonder if is my colour collection on here. It is. Weird. But yeah, like pulling it really tight or pulling it even like a little bit tight will cause it to ripple. So if you're going to be putting, basically this zip is straight. It's a straight zip, and we're putting it into a curve. So I find putting the outer bits together and then easing it in really does help. Sarah says, I steam my zips heavily before sewing them. I find that helps with waviness. Yeah, I always press my zips. I usually, what I do is when I cut my patterns out, I'll give my zips a press then, because what I find happens is it'll shrink them. Obviously zips are polyester shrinks, so it will shrink them back. If you find with a zip, when you press one side, it'll curve that way, and then you press the other side and it'll straighten up, and that's just where it shrunk, where you've pressed it. So pressing them really does help. So I always press them when I cut out, and I never cut my zips to the exact measurement and then press them, because they'll always shrink. So I press them when I'm cutting out, and I always like overcut my zips, and then I cut them as I go usually, and then I'll usually press them just before I start as well. So mine quite often I'll have like the double press. Anyway, Deb, crack on, because you need to be done. I'm so bad when I come on and do these lives and I'm talking and I'm chatting to you guys. Like what would normally take me like an hour to sew, like takes us like 2.5 hours. But I enjoy it. I enjoy having your company. Sue says, I want to do the mini E by Aura Rosa, as does Brian. And Giselle says, hello, brr. Yes, it is cold. My mum gave me a plug-in like heated blanket, like not an under blanket that goes like on your mattress, like you know, like one that you sit under. Like I always sit under a blanket. Like even when I'm not cold, I have to sit under a blanket when I'm sitting watching the TV on the settee. It's just kind of a habit I've developed. Like even actually in the summer, I have to have like a lightweight blanket over me. And my mum gave me this heated blanket the other week. She was like, "Oh, I've got one in the cupboard, you can have it." Oh my word. It is like, I think literally it's possibly the best thing I've ever owned, and it's possibly the best thing anybody's ever given me. Like every time Andy comes in the living room, he just sort of looks at me as if to say, "You're under that blanket again, I can't believe you." Oh, it's just amazing. I love it. So I'm literally going to finish this bag, pray that when Andy comes in, he'll say, "Do you want to take your post?" And I'll go, "Oh yeah, thanks, love you. I'll make you a cuppa for coming back." And I'm gonna, while he's out, I'm gonna make sure I've got everything prepped for the club masterclass tonight. I have. I'm just going to make sure I've got everything where it needs to be. And then I think I'm going to have an hour sitting under my heated blanket, being all nice and cozy, have a cup of tea, and just have a really lovely, nice, warm hour. But you're right, Giselle, it is so cold. Where in the world are you again? Remind me. I'm sure you've told me in the past, but I do have a very bad memory. So I'm just going to move my zip pull out of the way. And try to keep my needle down when I do that. And then again, just exactly the same thing. Just going to pinch these clips that I used on this side. And just pull it nice and straight and top stitch it. And you can see how it's already like wanting to curve, which is exactly what we want. So I'm just always making sure that I'm keeping my threads like nice and long so I can keep hold of them, like when I'm going to sew, so I don't end up with any nesting underneath. I'm just making sure I'm keeping my lining like pulled taut. So I'm just going to start this top stitching off with my zip. Sort of pulled shut, and then I'm going to open it so that I can flatten it out, because it's going to be really difficult to try and sew that when it's curved. It's going to be impossible really. take my top stitching back a tiny touch so that I can just take out those few where I've went over. I'll do it from this side because I don't want to ruin that wool. There we go. And then we're just stitching round, basically all the way around, but leaving a gap to turn it through. You could, if you wanted to, work out your measurements and add in a zip pocket. I couldn't think of the word then. A zip pocket to turn through. You would obviously, with this having a fold, you would need to make sure that it sat within that fold. But you know, that would be easy enough to do. Just going to get my ruler. Just going to change my camera ever so slightly, just so you can see what I'm doing. You can see my little heater. So just lining this up. So no, we'll move that back down again. See what I mean about getting an eyeful. I'm just wanting to make sure that I line this up so that my lining and outers, where that seam is, meet in the same place. You want that to be like an exact so I always just use my stapler just to keep it in place. Sarah says I've got the same heater. Love it. It doesn't half kick the heat out. I can't have it on for very long because then I get too hot. And then I'm just going to do the same with my stapler on this side piece. I'm going to line my accents up and pop a staple in there. And it's basically just so that they aren't moving when I'm sewing round. And then I'll just use clips for everywhere else. I'm just wanting to basically make sure that all those accent pieces are lining up really nicely. And then what I'm going to do is on this side and then possibly just on the other side, because I'm not actually sure which way I'm going to have it turned when I'm sewing, just add a couple of marks, because I have been known to go all the way around and totally forget to leave my opening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my stitching. Oh, my staple has popped there, so I'm going to just redo that. I thought it looked like it had moved. I'm going to start my stitching at one of these seams. So one of the reasons that I do that, rather than starting at the bottom, coming all the way along and then coming all the way around, is I don't want this to shift as I'm sewing. I'd rather start at this seam, come down, sew along the bottom, and then what I'll usually do is flip it over and start at this seam again. Some people might find that a little bit over the top. And if you just want to sew in a big seam and do it all in one go, that's absolutely fine. I just prefer to do it that way because we are stitching at a 1/2 inch seam, by the way. I just prefer to do it that way because I find everything lines up better, and I would rather take an extra minute or two just to make sure that I'm happy with everything and everything's lined up. Move that out the way while I'm coming over where that strap adjuster is, and then I can put my seam guide back in place. I'll back stitch at the corners a little bit just to give a little bit extra reinforcement. And then I'm going to start again on one of the seams where I started. Leaving a gap. I'm going to make the lining a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to move my seam guide a little bit so that my seam increases. And then as I come back up to meet the other seam, I'm going to sort of tape it so that I meet that seam again. Just going to trim off all these threads. take out the staples. And trim our seams back. We just want to make sure that we aren't cutting through our seam. So basically want to trim back to about half. It's fine if we cut through our basting stitches. So it's worth obviously just double checking before we start cutting which are our sort of construction stitches and which are our basting stitches. I tend not to cut here where the opening is, just because it makes it easier when we come to close it up. And I'm just going to turn it through very carefully. And just carefully sort of push out those corners. I might have to leave this opening open because I might have to get Andy to help push these corners out, because normally I would use my index finger, which I'm struggling to do, but we shall see. I'm going to switch to this camera. I can't get the pressure that I need to get on that corner with my index finger to push it out. It's so painful. Don't sew with broken fingers, folks. Right, it's so sore. Right, I've got that bit out. Let's see how we get on with this corner here. I'm going to use my left hand. See how I get on with my left hand. Obviously with this bag as well, these bottom seams, because I've obviously used a wool fabric, which is quite a bulky fabric, and then accented with a vinyl, it does make it quite thick. So, you know, when you're pushing out a bag or birthing a bag like this, just take your time. Don't rush sort of pushing it out. It can take a little while to sort of push it out properly, especially, I haven't put the fleece in, have I? But to be fair, I think the fleece with this it would be too thick, because this this foam is not this foam, this wool is have Andy strap a chop stick to your finger. It doubles as both a splint for your finger and a corner turner. Yeah, I am, when I'm not working, I am strapping it. So I'm going to use the turner now that the majority of it's through. This is just quite a pointy, like a pointy, pokey thing. So you've got to be very careful because this one can go through very, very easy. So yeah, but I am strapping the index finger to my middle finger just at the top. The pharmacist advised to do that when I wasn't using it. Not to strap it all the way down because that would immobilize it. So yeah, pretty much got that one out now. But it is really difficult to work with it. But then obviously, if I'm not working, I'm self-employed. So if I'm not working, I'm not earning anything. So it's quite difficult. But I'm not going to lie, it is really painful. So it is making it quite difficult to sort of concentrate sometimes. But chatting with you guys makes it easier. It does make it easier. So I'm just sort of gently pushing this out. And probably I have one like this, which I quite like as well. It's like a little plastic one, which I think I'll use. So I'm just trying to make sure that I get as much of this corner pushed out as possible. That's easier. Without pushing through the seam. I can't get my handbag out. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm happy with that. No, I'm not happy with that corner before I sew it up, because I would be unpicking it. There's a tiny touch more of this corner to be pushed out. That's better. Right, so I'm going to sew that one up now. Change my foot. It's the worst thing about having the, I mean, it takes seconds to change the feet over. With having the H2, like it's not really as straightforward to change the feet as what it is on, say, the Janome, with having like a quick release. But you've obviously got to use your like screwdriver and what have you to so I'm going to pop this in. I'm going to push the corners down. There we go. I love it. I love this as like a going out evening bag. It's been ages since I've made this bag. Like probably lockdown was which is ironic. I made a going out evening bag when we couldn't go out. But I made this bag quite a bit during lockdown. I made them to give us gifts. Isn't that now like really weird? Like here's a bag to go out, but you can't go out. But yeah, I made them for friends, quite a few friends. I'm just gonna go around and burn all my loose threads because things like that drive me nuts. But I gave quite a few as gifts for friends and family members and stuff. More sort of like, here's some you can use when we can't go out. And I because I like a bag to sort of like, this is what I do when I go out. I wouldn't ever use it as a wristlet. Or there's Andy coming in. That's not my preferred. Like this is how I would go out with a bag. I like it under my arm. It's where I can feel it. Like when I make a sky, I don't put anything on it. I just make it so that it can tuck under my arm. But I love that you can kind of open it up. You can open it right up and like look at how much you can get in there. I love this rounded bit of it. I'm so pleased that I didn't actually put the fleece in it. It would have made it too bulky and then I wouldn't have been able to get much in it at all. With having the wool in it, like the wool gives it like so much structure. And yeah, I love the wool and the like vinyl together. I think it looks really quite nice. And then the pop of pink, I just think gives it, I mean, I'm not normally like a pink person. I'm a purple person, as we can say. But I just think the pink kind of gives it a little bit something extra. You can see how the pink kind of ties it all in. You could, if you wanted to, have D-rings on both sides, so you could have your D-ring on sort of like either side. But yeah, I'm chuffed with how that's come out. I think if I was to make it again, lessons learned, smaller pull on the back. I mean, I like a decorative pull. I think the decorative pull sets it off. But obviously with basting it and then open it up, it makes it very difficult with this big pull. Alternative way to do it would be to fold it and then just butt the edges up together and then top stitch them in place if you did want to use a bigger zipper pull. But doing it that way and using a bigger zipper pull was quite difficult. It needed a lot of manoeuvring round. And yeah, I mean, it was doable. It wasn't like really difficult. It was just, it was a bit of a faff. I had to faff with it to get it to work. What were my other lessons learned doing this? Oh yeah, when you go to put your magnetic snaps on, make sure you pick the right piece up. And don't sew with a broken finger. It's probably my only other lesson learned making this bag. It's quite an easy pattern. You'll maybe notice I have a little bit of a theme going on this month where all of the patterns that I'm sewing are free bag patterns. My dog wants to be out. I did leave the back door open for him, but he's obviously shut. All of my bag pattern, all of the patterns that I'm sewing this month are free. And I think free bag patterns are a great way to find new pattern designers, try new pattern designers out, and they are usually always great sort of beginner patterns. It's very, very rare that you'll get a free bag pattern that's very complicated. You get an odd one, but you usually find that free bag patterns are very, very beginner friendly. So kind of what I wanted February to be was a bit of a back to basics. So yeah, I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a reset. So I just thought I'd take you guys along for the ride, whether you wanted to or not. You were coming with me. So let's have a couple of minutes before I go and say hello to my husband and see what my dog wants. Melissa says, "Oh, it turned out so good." It did. I don't know why my theme changed there. Paula says, "Beautiful, thank you." Sarah says, "That's fabulous. I really love that style of bag." Me too. Sarah says, "Love a pop of pink. I'm a pink girl." Me too. Valerie says, "Hi, I've just finished work. On way home, I've missed it all, cry face." Don't worry, Valerie, because it will be all available to replay. So you can go back and rewatch it. Sue says, "Fabulous. I must have a go at this one." It's like I say, it's a very sort of straightforward, simple bag. I think probably the thing to watch out for is putting the zip in on the curve, and like what I said, put your one end in, your other end in, and then sort of ease it in. Valerie says, "Where do you get your wool and tweed? Do you think Emma will put them in her boxes one day?" So this wool I got from Emmanuel's, and I can certainly try and plant the seed. I know that Emma works quite ahead. I think she works quite ahead, probably 2 to 3 boxes ahead because of time scales for getting things in and what have you. So, but I can certainly plant the seed. Just send her a link to this video and make her watch it. Sarah says, "I'm loving your hair." Thank you. It was a little bit of a happy accident. I've stripped out all of the permanent colour, stripped it all out, and then just put on a colour conditioner, and it took. Donna says, "Hi." Mary says, "I've had that pattern for ages, must give it a go." Donna says, "I'm getting stuff sorted for a de-stash event on Saturday." Oh, Donna, don't get me started on de-stashing because it's been on my mind all day today. While I was packing orders today, I have been thinking about stash. Like if you saw my post on Instagram, and I think on my community tab as well, I have been thinking about my fabric stash. And yeah, I was actually thinking about doing a very short live on Monday rather than doing like a pre-recorded vlog and editing it and putting it out there. I was actually thinking about doing, maybe it's a 20-minute, half an hour live and kind of showing what I've made, what I'm planning on making, X, Y, and Z, but chatting fabric stash. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know. Nikki says, "I have Heidi in my pattern stash. I need to try it sometime. It's a good size." Yeah, it's 2 sizes, and I think this was the large. I'm pretty sure. My 42 by 4 inch folding strap ruler arrived. I am jealous. Nikki says, "I need to de-stash too. So lazy though." I mean, there is that for me too, Nikki. Well, I don't know so much whether it's lazy or time poor. Sarah says, "I'd love a stash chat." Okay, I'll schedule it. I'll schedule it over the weekend, and we can do maybe channel plans, what I've been sewing, what the heck am I going to do with all of this fabric that I have stashed over the years, and now don't really know if I want to sew with it. Does anybody else feel like that? Like you buy this fabric, you love it at the time, and now you go, nah. Nikki's laughing at me. And Melissa says me too. So Donna says, event was cancelled in October, November. I'm getting rid of stuff that I acquired before I knew stuff I prefer to use. Yeah, that's a difficult one, because sometimes you buy stuff thinking it'll work for what you intend, and then you learn, like all of us, we're always learning, and then we're like, oh, that's not going to work. I thought it was going to work. Sarah says, I'll have to put you in a meeting in my work diary so I'm not disturbed. I'll do it about 5. I'll do it at like the end of my work day, and then it means that I finish on time. If I finish on time, then I'll schedule it at the end of my work day, just for about half an hour or so. Yeah, I'll schedule it over the weekend, because one of my things for this year is as pretty much most of what I'm going to be doing on YouTube will be live, rather than pre-recorded, edited and uploaded. And there's method behind my madness. Possibly goes back to something Nikki was saying earlier on. Lazy, it's nothing to do with being lazy, it's to do with being time poor. But I'll kind of explain on Monday. Like we'll do a channel plans stroke what I've been sewing, what I plan to sew, and what the heck am I going to do with these 3 cupboards of fabric. Donna says, found some stuff that I use for the gift bags you did in December solo. Yeah, well, you can do that. You can, and then you can batch cut them out and then just sew some up, and then you'll have a load by December. Donna says that should be easier for you, 100%. Mary says, end of the day works well for me, as I probably will be back in from work on Monday. Yeah. And I mean, if people enjoy it, it's something I can do regular. So yeah, so thank you for joining me. I've really enjoyed it, as always. Hope that Donna has got loads of ribbon and zips to go. Yeah, I'm not even going to ask what you've got to go, because I'll go, oh, I'll have that. I absolutely won't. So I hope you've enjoyed me sewing up my Heidi. This one was going to get put on the website to sell, and now I'm like, oh, I like it. That would go with this. That would go with that. Like, stop it, Deb. Stop it. Brian says hello to Andy. I'll go and say, I'm pretty sure that was him coming in. I heard the dog go, although I didn't hear the dog's bark too much, so it might not have been. Sue says you should be dealing with my full lounge. Yeah, and Andy, I think, would move out. I mean, I've took over the living room to sew in, so, and my fabric stash is in what used to be our living room. So, you know, I think I'd be pushing it if I took things any further. So yeah, so hopefully you might see this go up on the website for sale. It really needs to go up on the website for sale. I do not need any more bags, but there is a little part of me that wants to keep this one and take it on a night out. But yeah, I've really enjoyed making it. I've really enjoyed your company. Oh, before I go, I have 2 thank yous to say. I have a thank you to say to Senga. I hope I've said that right. And I have a thank you to say to Sue. Both of whom have bought me coffees in the last week or 2. Just to say thank you for videos and podcasts and what have you. So I just wanted to sort of say thank you. You know, I really appreciate it. I absolutely really appreciate it. So, and you know, obviously without the club members and the channel members and stuff like that, like I wouldn't be able to put videos out. I wouldn't be able to spend the time putting the videos out. So I just wanted to come on, and say thank you. I massively appreciate it. So I really do. It means the world. Anyway, so I'll let you go. I'm going to go get under my snuggly blanket for an hour or two before we do the masterclass this evening, and I'm really looking forward to that. Watch out on the channel for other things being scheduled. If you go onto the homepage, you will see sort of things kind of set out, and you will see upcoming lives, and you'll be able to see I think there's sort of like a couple of podcasts scheduled there. We've got Monica and we've got Matt. I'm excited for both of those. And then as any others get scheduled, you will see them appearing there. I will try to get better when I schedule them of putting up a post on the community tab, but I keep forgetting it's there. But I will try and get in a habit of doing that. But once I'm in a more regular habit of coming on and doing lives, I probably will get in a bit more better habit of actually telling you I'm going to do it. So, but if you go onto the homepage and see those upcoming lives, there is a little button that says notify me. You can click it. It'll notify you. If you're about and you want to hang out, great. If you're busy and you can't, then it's fine. You can always come back and watch later. Donna says, have you had Emma on the podcast? I have. If you go into the podcast playlist, you'll be able to find it. Spoiler alert, I've got it coming back on. So yeah, so again, thank you for hanging out with me. I've really enjoyed it. Where is the community tab? Is that on the website? No, on the YouTube channel. If you go, I'll bring it up on my phone for you. So if you go onto my, I'm trying to sort of hold it down so the light's not reflecting. If you go onto my page, can you see sort of all of those things along the top there? If you kind of scroll along, you will see community. If you click that, there's loads of posts. A little bit like a Facebook feed, but it's just my post. And if I buy cake tomorrow, I'll post a picture of what cake I buy on the community tab. So yeah, but I will try and be a little bit better at posting on there, because they do come up in people's feed if you're subscribed to the channel. So enjoy your evening, and I will see you soon. Bye.